And now, Jean? Well, we've had a very long day, so now we're going to the closure of this first day of the Congress.
O ano passado esteve
Last year, we had the Director General of the European Commission responsible for innovation, and now he's here for Secretary of State for Digitalization and Administrative Modernization, Mario Campo Largo. And so it was a great pleasure speaking last year about European reality, and now you have another responsibility today. So thank you very much, João and Christina. And I'd like to greet Rogério Capuça, who I've known for many years, and all who are here at the event today, not only physically, because we've seen how important it is to be together, but to those who are following through the digital platforms. I would like to once again thank you for the invitation to be here today and congratulate APDC for from the 31st of the Digital Business Congress, which is a hybrid congress. And so this topic is so important to digital transition, sustainability, economic sustainability, and social economic sustainability. As I was fully spoke to me last year about European questions, but some of you may not know me. So through this brief, after this brief presentation, I'm going to introduce myself again. In addition to being the Secretary of State, I am also an engineer, and I suppose that some of you in this audience are also engineers. And so throughout my professional life, and I always felt like an actor. I've committed to national technology, because for many years I worked in Portugal, and technological development in Europe. And for me, I would like to say I remember some initiatives from the beginning of 5G, which was a PPP supported by then we had the broadband, and then MTS, and third mobile generation, and then cloud, which was called Magritte, and then it's and I think everybody knows what it's called nowadays. In my recent years in Brussels, I had the privilege of being faced with the challenges of digital transformation of the organizations and the digital transformation of the European Commission, and later this huge challenge which is working in the interoperability between public administrations of all member states. But I think that I wouldn't be wrong if I say, and I'm totally convinced of this, that many of you in this room will agree with me, is that we are going through a very important moment, one of the most enthusiastic moments, because we are at the merger between technological innovation and the accelerated transformation of our organizations, and the way we work, and I would also say democracy and life in society. And that is why I accepted with great pride and with a certain sense of responsibility this challenge of being the Secretary of State for Digitalization and Administrative Modernization in a government which puts digital and modernization in the heart of the matter, because it recognizes the positive aspect and this cross-cutting aspect. And so in fact, this could be taken advantage in many areas. So tomorrow, in the Congress, you'll have the Executive Director of GAP who will talk a little bit of how the digital PRR is so important, and so you will know some of the programs that we are implementing now and in the future. So allow me to one more detail about myself. I know it's a little bit self-centered, but so President of the European Union von der Leyen, I'm a tech optimist. And so technology has the ability to improve our lives, great potential. but this potential has to be included in a broader area where it is an enabler and not an end to itself and so in itself. So the technical innovation is based on 3 pillars: people, companies, and the state. So let's think of people first. People are and will always be our major focus. It's absolutely vital to invest in their qualifications in terms of their innovation and their active professional life. But we will carry out multiple initiatives where partners with other entities are extremely or equally important. I want to around this concept of this initiative in Code 2020. And so we can talk about inclusion, and digital literacy, and education of new generations, the qualification of the active population, and I could say for the specialization of people who are already graduate, who want to occupy new positions where digital dimension is important and requires more knowledge. Here, allow me to point out the success of a number of initiatives that have a capital are of a capital of interest for us. The Emprego Mais Digital, or the Digital Institute, the upskill program where APDC has a very important role to play. And so all of these and other programs I could list here that facilitate this dimension of the digital skills of our population are fundamental for this first pillar of our strategy around people. I know how PDC has been enthusiastic about this acceleration. That is the creation of conditions to increase the digital skills, and I would like to thank you for the support that you have given publicly. I talk about people, but the pillar of companies is also crucial because a digital revolution is not done by way of decrees. It needs actors in the market who are able and competent, I would even say more, and committed and can be partners in the definition, implementation, and the impact in the impact assessment of measures in its specific dimensions, in the different dimensions. So in this pillar of company, allow me to say that this morning I was in Coimbra in a meeting on startups, and allow me to focus my words on this dimension because, in fact, we have a very important focus on the support to entrepreneurship, the support to startups, and the support to incubators and accelerators. And we have a dimension that I would say national of creating and creating startups so that they can become scale-ups. And so we have a European responsibility too, because during the Portuguese presidency of the European Commission, Portugal was the hosting country of an initiative that's called ESNA, European Startup Nations Alliance. And so from this instrument, we can not only work on national entrepreneurship, but up to a certain extent, we can project ourselves and help Europe to have a more important role in the attraction of talent at a global level. So this has got to do with the startup, the support to national startups, and Portugal is a nation that supports startups and carries out specific actions. I'm not only talking about incentives, but I'm talking about the change in the regulatory framework for startups. So the attraction of investment is urgent for us. We have to capitalise the strong points of the country in order to support international companies and foreign companies that come set up in Portugal with the ability to create jobs and knowledge and attracting talent. But the reality of our entrepreneurial fabric is that we have this fabric is made up of PMEs, SMEs, so we have to support this dimension, and so that is what happens when we promote initiatives like the Bairro de Comércio Digital, which promote open services and consumers, and the promotion of online trade, and other measures like coaching 4.0, which drive the digitalization of these SMEs. So before I move on to the third pillar, let me mention an aspect which I think is extremely important, which is transfer of scientific and technological knowledge to the economy. So this aspect is critical to increase our competitiveness, and that is why we identify, and I would say interconnect several measures. For example, the three technological areas of the national network of test beds, to different initiatives but complementary at the same time, which allow for the experimentation of new technologies, and some of which couldn't be experimented any other way because they affect the limits of the regulatory frameworks. And so there's a number of there's high performance computing and cybersecurity, and allow for the dissemination of knowledge between those who actively work in the different different innovation hubs. And so our approach in Portugal is that we want an area free of technological tests. So we want experimentations made within the context of test beds, of digital innovation hubs, which intend to cover the most important economic areas of the country. But as I said, we're talking about three pillars. I've talked about people, companies, and so now it's important to talk about the state. So our mission is administrative modernization through the support and improvement of services provided digitally, and the promotion of its access and usability by citizens. And I would still say that it's got to do with the simplification of a number of administrative procedures. And that is why we want to continue to be aware of the most important way. And I would like to say that there are solutions which promote automatisms, that is where the citizen or the company does not have to take any initiative because public administration knows that citizen or that company at that moment needs this service. And that is when there is a need for the company to personally intervene, or the person, that these services be more inclusive and more intuitive, which means that we have to give the idea that public administration meets the needs of companies and individuals throughout the important interventions of its life, birth, in the case of a citizen, and the creation of a company or the purchase of a house. And then, after talking about these three pillars, I would also like to mention a number of dimensions which underlie this and which are important for the pursuance of initiatives under these same pillars. I'm talking about the creation of national strategies of disruptive technologies, and obviously action plans, and obviously aligned with the principles of European plans, and I would say aligned with the best international practices. And so for this effect, we intend to draw up a data strategy, which not only scientific data, but academic data, and I think it's important to update the strategy of artificial intelligence and to look at aspects of blockchain and to try and define a strategy which uses, in specific cases, positive aspects which blockchain technology can give. Dear friends, colleagues, people here in this room, people who are following us online, in addition to all of this, we know that the success of the modernization of the company still depends, and a lot, on people's trust. Trust in the state, but also trust in the use of the digital means. And this is based, on the one hand, on the awareness of risks, and on the other hand, the creation of a fundamental risk which makes us feel so safe, secure in the digital world as in a physical world. And that is why the government thinks it's fundamental to promote the empowerment of private and public entities for cybersecurity. I could name that is through the implementation of the legal regime of cyberspace, about promoting the sharing of good practices, and which became obvious in the previous panel. Good practices identified within the national framework of cybersecurity, or creating an ecosystem that allows for the certification of companies from the point of view of cybersecurity, or even developing the national cryptographic ability including quantum ciphers. And here I would like to say that digital innovation hubs, because they can foresee the future more elaborate uses of cybersecurity in a number of the digital innovation hubs. I would now like to conclude my speech by once again repeating the fact that I think that the administrative modernization and the success of them is very important. The reality is different, it's plural, as we saw the topics referred to on this stage, and we will see tomorrow. So I talked about the future. We're here to talk about the future of democracy, the greener society, and economy with a moral dimension, journalism, digital journalism, and so in fact the challenges which are presented to us are multiple and are faced to society as a whole. So we have to implement a digital society that promotes the sustainable development at all levels, which integrates the latest perspectives that you helped identify, and that leaves nobody lagging behind. And so that is why I can say rely on us, and so we rely on you. Thank you very much.
Muito bem, chegamos assim ao fim deste primeiro dia de trabalhos desta.
So that's the end of the first day of this APDC conference. It's been a very long day, but, well, it was very interesting. We spoke about many different topics, cybersecurity, metaverse, and whatnot, topics that we're all interested in. And you've noticed that we have something here, but that's for later. We're going to have an awards ceremony, but we're just going to say goodbye so people can go home, as the interpreters will do right now. So there'll be also sign language interpreting. So enjoy the rest of the evening and see you tomorrow.
A traduzir tudo o que nós dizemos e também tudo o que aqui se diz.
E às vezes não é fácil.
Muito bem, e amanhã haverá mais. Terminamos assim então o streaming. A seguir, era o que a Cristina ia dizer, mas é ela que vai fazer. Será uma entrega aqui de prémios e também um cocktail, mas isso acaba no streaming e será aqui só presencialmente. Então, para quem nos chega em casa, boa tarde e até amanhã.
Boa tarde, e fica também aqui o convite para quem quiser vir até aqui amanhã ao auditório da Faculdade de Medicina Dentária da Universidade de Lisboa. Portanto, será bem-vindo. E hoje nós acabamos aqui a emissão realmente via
Até amanhã.
streaming. Boa tarde, até amanhã. Vamos à entrega dos prémios.